47 million people currently on food stamps. Now there are new calls to require able-bodied adults on food stamps to look for work or volunteer for something in order to keep receiving the benefits. We have Star Parker with us. She's a former welfare cheat and now the president of the Center for Urban Renewal and Education. All right, Star.
Hello. Happy New Year, too.
Hello. I take it you think that the work requirement is a good thing for food stamp recipients, right?
Absolutely, and we've known it since we reformed welfare in the 90s, and now here again have this opportunity. I'm glad that Congressman Steve Sutherland brought it up on the floor. In fact, Steve is a friend. He's not just a friend of mine, but he's a friend of pastors that are in our program at Urban Cure, members of our program that are represented. These clergymen represent these neighborhoods where we've allowed for government dependency to go unchecked, where we've allowed for work to not be a requirement. And the end result is hard time. Unproductive men are dangerous men. They're reckless men. And what Congressman Sutherland is saying is, as we have opportunity again to reform our food stamp program, that we should consider that work is important for self-worth.
Got it. Now, when you were a welfare cheat, you were very good at it. I've heard the story. You were good at it. You knew how to milk the system. You don't think that if this work requirement were put in place, it would be relatively easy, indeed simple, to just get around it, wouldn't it?
It is simple to get around it. It depends, once you make a federal law here in Washington, D.C., how the states implement that law. But the fact that we required it as an American people. Look, 90 million people on food stamps is not healthy. It's not healthy for the individuals. It's certainly not healthy for our economy, and it's certainly not healthy for the taxpayers who are putting this bill. So, yes, there are ways to get around the system, if you will. But most Americans, even those that are on food stamps today, are not looking for ways to get around whatever type of law is put in place. What they're looking for is somebody to say, you know, it stops now. You've got to get up off of the couch. You've got to be productive.
Now, if I say I think the rules on allowing people to receive food stamps should be really tightened, back to where they were before President Obama loosened the regulations. If I say that, I'm called harsh. I'm taking food out of children's mouths, and I'm a bad guy. Now, you're going to get demagogued to death if you impose a work requirement or if you restrict food stamp allocations. I mean, can you get around that demagoguery? I don't think you can.
No, and that's why I hope that Steve holds his ground on this one, and that the Congress and then the Senate stands with him to make sure that we do have work requirements, that people are at least in training, because we can look into any and every inner city in this country and see what happens if you're not standing firm, if you're not allowing this discussion to take place. We've done it for 50 years, and the end result is chaos in our urban centers. We've got to stop this from spilling out into the mainstream of America.
Let me throw this question at you, and I asked this of Crystal Wright, who was on the show earlier. You may know Crystal. She's the blogger. The Conservative Black Chick is the name of her blog. And I asked her, do you think that this year, 2014, African Americans will walk away from the Democrats and walk away from President Obama? Several leading Democrats already are putting distance between themselves and President Obama. Do you think the African American community will do that?
No, I don't. I think that they are stuck in yesterday in many instances, and especially with this year being the 50 landmark of some of the powerful legislation that came out of the civil rights era. It's like your family, and the more he does, the more he gets away with when it comes to this community. That said, I do believe that the Senate will change in this next election cycle, and we'll be able to slow down this tyranny that he has against American culture.
Tyranny that he has against American. Wow, that's strong stuff.
It's inconsistent with the founding. It's inconsistent with freedom. It's inconsistent with the very things that will help the black community on an economic path of strength. But for some reason, black Americans have turned a blind eye to this. And much of that reason is because they're very limited in the news that they hear. And the news that they hear is from the left, the hardcore left. So they spin it to make it seem like this guy is good for them. And he is not. Welfare is not good for any community, and it has hit the black community the hardest.
Strong stuff there, Star Parker. We appreciate that. Thanks very much for coming on today.